Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. Hope that you are doing well. Welcome back to the channel, okay? As always, this evening, today, perhaps, if you're watching it, as we consider number 61 on the AFI Top 100, 1941's Sullivan's Travels. A simple, black and white, dramatic comedy about John Sullivan, a very popular Hollywood director or writer, more or less, who has found success in a string of comedies, very successful. And he starts to tire of it, just making comedies. He wants to try something a little more meaty. And so he wants to go and kind of make a documentary picture about the poor, but also just the downtrodden, the working man. He wants to talk about really differences in social classes. Of course, the production company that he works for, says no, and he can't seem to find anyone else in Hollywood to say yes. And so he decides to become a hobo and to go out on the road, to live on the road, to have the experience of the homeless, the hobo, the free spirit, and to use that experience, that energy, and come back to make his masterpiece, his Sullivan masterpiece. That will not be a comedy, but as he hopes to, base it off of O Brother, Where Art Thou, the very, of course, famous text, the novel. This, of course, immediately reminiscent of O Brother, Where Art Thou itself, a story about hobo-ness and free living, charity, definitely exploring the differences between social classes. I believe that's one of the reasons, among others, why it's in the AFI Top 100, especially, as I recall, it had not been in further lists, further AFI Top 100 lists. And so for it to be added and to jump all the way to number 61, pretty important. Of course, 1941 should speak pretty clearly that this is a wartime film. Before America's involvement, but still during the war. As a result, just trivia, they did not distribute this film outside of the country anywhere. They were concerned that the Germans especially would get a hold of the film and they would find things in it to use against the United States through propaganda or whatever it is. And so this was an exclusive, in-house release, as it were. But wartime films are very unique in their portrayal of the American people. Curious to compare them, I suppose, with current wartime films, or at least films that deal with the war in the Middle East. Among other reasons, again, besides a very profitable film, is another movie about movies, okay? Not so much about the production end of things or how movies are made or why, but still a movie about movie making. And we have several of those on the AFI Top 100. Some are better than others. This one is pretty good. I believe it does retain some potency for us today, as now we're seeing all the more films that try to break into that social class area, films that one might not say are necessarily about social justice, but certainly consider the themes of social justice in our community, especially, of course, during this time. I don't think we've forgotten about the 1%. That's sort of one of the greater social class barriers and differences in our own time. And of course, now we're seeing more and more films that address that, assess that, explore it, maybe try to explain it. But also, especially in America right now, with immigration being what it is, and the outsourcing of jobs and so on and so forth, there's a lot of social class ideas to explore, and film is trying to do so. We're still trying to do so, and so this film, I think, Sullivan's Travels, did so a long time ago, and I think gives some weight to the fact that it can be done, and that it should be done. One word came to mind when watching this film as far as talking about points of reflection, and that word is solidarity. I'm going to go over to a very unofficial and probably untrustworthy source, dictionary.com. And here's what dictionary.com has to say. Solidarity, union or fellowship, arising from common responsibilities and interests, as between members of a group or between classes, peoples, etc. Community of feelings, purposes, community of responsibilities and interests. Now, solidarity is an incredibly important word for the Christian. Perhaps you're familiar with some of what Pope Francis has been saying recently, and much of his message has been one of solidarity, especially with the poor, especially with the homeless, especially with the sick, and especially with the widow, the widowed. He is calling for solidarity with these outcasts, understanding them, reverencing them, honoring them, keeping them in the forefront of our minds, and most of all, and most importantly, most radically, living with them. Maybe not literally, but in the sense of to be in true solidarity with another person is to live with them or to live alongside them. Now, of course, I'm very fortunate, Tori and I are very fortunate to not be poor or homeless, but can we live in such a way that we honor those who are? I think so. We can try to get away from excess, something of what Jesus had said, of course, easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, We can get away from just stacking things up to have it. And of course, I'm looking behind myself to all these DVDs back here that are just sitting there, trying to get rid of that stuff too. You can't even give DVDs at the library anymore. What's up with that? Mary Lou. I know, because people could record on it. I get it. I feel it. Okay. But that's part of solidarity. Now, of course, in the Christian theology, the greatest solidarity of all is in Jesus Christ. He broke the great barrier from divinity to humanity, from immortality to mortality, from God to man. Jesus spanned the distance through the incarnation, became a man, and achieved perfect, complete solidarity with us. And of course, as that description kind of suggested, a community of responsibilities and interests. Well, Jesus, interested in us, gaining us for himself, in the responsibility by God to rescue us. God's love so overwhelming, so complete, so thorough, so everlasting, that it brought God to send his Son into the world so that we'd be saved, so that we would have access to salvation in Jesus Christ. That's the spirit of solidarity, is love. Solidarity comes out of love. And even in the film, Sullivan, of course, out of love for common man, wants to make a film that's not just about laughs, but about life and struggle, reality. He wants to get away from fantasy and fanfare and flashy pants and all that stuff. Shannon would say, all the flim-flams and the jim-jams. Get away from that, okay? Of course, I would say that, but Shannon would enjoy that. I'm sure she did. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. We're getting away from all that in Christ, and we're learning how to really, truly become in solidarity, to live in solidarity with the poor, with the outcast. Maybe those in your community, maybe those in your family, maybe the person inside of you, okay, that you've rejected and pushed away. Be in solidarity with all of those. That's what Jesus came to do. That's what we are urged to do through the gospel and through the example of Christ and the disciples. Something of that is what I resonate with in this film anyway. What do you think? Have you seen Sullivan's Travels? If you haven't, check it out. Really, a real treat. It really is exceptional. I wouldn't just throw it at you for fun. I think that you guys would enjoy it, and you girls. do watch it, please. Hopefully, I think I've given pretty much positive recommendations to all the films so far. I would say they are all worth the while. And worth the while now is me getting out of here, and I have a duck soup ready to watch. Not the next one, number 60, I think. Let's check. I think, what's next? Oh, it is! Number 60, and then Nashville. Looking forward to considering that, okay? Thank you for watching, friends. I really appreciate it. Truly, I do. I like seeing people watching. I like the comments, especially comments and reflections and feedback from those who have seen the movie, those who haven't, those who just enjoy watching this series. Welcome, as always, to the new folks who are following this review. Like and subscribe if you care to, okay? Like it on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Like it on YouTube. You can't really subscribe on Facebook, but you kind of can. It's different. Anyway, thank you truly for watching, and I do hope that you are doing well. Thanks. Bye.